All right. Hey, good morning, Helene. Looks like we got the room opened up here for today's version of TOD Live. So excited to be here. Obviously, a lot of things moving around the markets
Whew,
today.
wild.
A couple really exciting things we're going to discuss here today in today's call. But before we get to it, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy Thursday. Middle of this wild earnings week. How are you doing?
Doing well. Just trying to keep up with these earnings, like you said. A lot of stocks. A lot of equities are moving. Last night in the after hours, once a couple companies reported, big things happening. So definitely some pieces of some of those reports last night that I think will have some ripple effects across the market. So we'll get to that. But yeah, doing well. Just trying to keep up with these crazy markets, and exciting times though. So. Excited to be here for today's version of TOD Live and start breaking it down. So, welcome in everybody. I want to see who's just in the room here real quick before we get off and going. I see. Let's see. It's Carlos. I see James. Looks like Robert's here. Looks like we have some folks that we always love to jump in and attend with us. So, welcome in everybody. So glad to have
Oh,
you here.
welcome.
And we're going to go ahead and get started and get running here. I think now would probably be a good time to go ahead and hop into what we have to share today. So let's go ahead and pull up our first couple charts because I know you guys are probably very eager to hear what we have to share today. I'm excited to be able to share it. So, Helene, as we were talking about last night, we've been kind of alluding to this all week. We knew we had a couple big earnings reports coming out late last night. There was Google, there was Tesla, there was IBM. Of course, Tesla, it was widely expected they were going to have a pretty negative report. They have a lot of headwinds going on right now for the
Mhm.
company. That played out, obviously not getting a great reaction in the stock today to that bad report.
No.
Oddly enough, IBM had a pretty good report. They reported fairly good numbers. And the stock is kind of taking it on the chin today. So that was that was a bit of an interesting reaction to that one. The stock had been kind of priced to perfection a bit on that, but across the board, they by and large had pretty good numbers. But the one I really wanted to focus in on and talk with you today was this one right here because I think this was the most important report of all of those three major ones that we saw last night after the close, and it's Google. I'm sure you probably caught the results just like I did. They had a great, top and bottom line beat. Had really impressive numbers there. Just pretty much everything you could have asked for. If you were to be a shareholder in Alphabet, you got delivered last night. Some of the worries that had been cropping up about Google search, and they starting to bleed some market share because of the Chat GPTs of the world, the perplexities out there, things like that. Uh, Man, they kind of knocked the cover off the ball last night. And on top of that, one thing, of course, a lot of market watchers are paying attention to is their capex levels, right? You were talking about Nvidia, the Broadcoms, the major build out players of this AI revolution. So much of their revenue and earnings are coming from a very small specific group of companies. Alphabet being one of them. It's these massive hyperscaler Mag 7 type stocks, just like Alphabet, like a Meta, like a Amazon, Microsoft. Companies like this, they're spending so much to try and get an edge to be one of the winners in this AI race. And so we heard last night Google actually upped their capex number for this year. Their last earnings report, it was coming in at $75 billion they were spending this year, largely all going towards AI. Well, last night they upped that 10 billion. They said now we're on pace to spend $85 billion this year. And that was actually cheered. Normally if you're like, hey, if I'm having to, expenses rise by another $10 billion, that's not necessarily always welcomed by the markets. But last night,
No.
because of the stakes at the table here for this AI race, that was actually cheered by the market. So you can see, of course, the great numbers they reported, seeing them, taking initiative to remain, hyper competitive in the AI race. You can see the stock's gotten a great reaction today. Of course, it's well off its highs today. It was
Mhm.
up, I think, about 3.5, close to 4%. You can see it went up and touched 198 per share. It's pulled back, but it's still, I mean, just a very, very strong breakout here. Good reaction from the stock. So, Helene, I mean, what are you thinking about this chart right here, especially after last night's report?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on the Mag 7 because since the April, downturn and bottoming out, they have all varied in their performance since then. And Google, I would say, has underperformed compared to some of those top movers. And so, and it's not that they're a bad stock or a bad company. They just have underperformed. And so to see them really going full force into AI, I mean, that's a very bullish sign because we're seeing so much focus in AI right now. It seems like if you just say the word AI and that you're somehow related, your stock is going to rise. Um, Partly, just because that's where so much growth is right now and so much potential, but also like the retail investors, they want to see AI. They are all over AI, and so these big players, it's important that they also are getting in there, and starting to spend more money in AI because, pretty often they're going to be some of the big winners in the AI field. It's not always going to be these little tiny companies that you haven't really heard of because they have less money, they have less infrastructure. So it's good to see Google really going all in on AI. And, as you can see, they're rewarded accordingly.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I concur with everything you said. And I might add, it looks like the stock now, that quarter they just reported last night, the stock ran up into it. I'm usually a little nervous about that, but hey, they delivered and they've even, gone up and rallied yet again today, making, about a 3, 4 month high. And if you look back to this right here, this top that you can see in the stock, from very early February. That's actually the all-time high for the stock. That's really not that far away from
No.
today's trading range. So it looks like, hey, after last night's report, there was a lot of, people were, kind of really discounting, what the effects of, if Google was kind of a laggard, if they weren't really winning, if they weren't one of the top companies in this AI race, that was all really being discounted on the stock. And as you said, they've kind of underperformed. But now after that quarter, it seems like that's really kind of, bought them a little time, at least in the eyes of investors. Maybe they'll start to get a little bit, more of a lift and make a run at those all-time highs. So that certainly seems within the realm of possibility. Of course, looking at the charts right here, of course, we have our Keltner channels here. You can see the stock, it's been trading above them for several trading sessions consecutively, traded way outside of them today, rallying up to 198 per share. So, certainly in a little bit of nosebleed territory. As
Yes.
of right now, it's probably going to come in a little bit. And I would anticipate that, probably over the next week, but that doesn't mean the trend's going to reverse. I mean, it looks like we have a very clear trend reversal in this stock. It's starting to move higher yet again. It clearly came down and found support at this level. It's starting to rally. So this is definitely going to be one I'm going to be keeping my eyes on. Probably not looking to enter today because of,
No.
as I said, it's certainly clearly an overbought territory. We're seeing that in multiple places on the chart right here.
Right.
But after the report last night, the reaction today, this definitely looks like a great opportunity. But I think that's, particularly their CapEx number. I think that's going to have a massive effect on several other stocks across the market, whether that's some of the other big tech names or some of those, more AI specific build out players. We're going to say a little bit more about that later on, but I want to go ahead and move on, Helene, to our next chart we're bringing today. We always like to cover this in these calls right here. Of course, this is just taking that 10,000 foot view, looking down at the markets just as a whole, just to kind of take a temperature of stocks, see where they are. And, last time we were here on Tuesday, last time we were sitting down for a TOD live call, we pointed out something that was abundantly clear on the charts that for about 2.5, 3 weeks. So again, just to give you perspective, everybody, this was Tuesday's bar
Wayne,
right here.
can you
So
go
this was
and can you make it a shorter time frame? It's a little hard to see.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and let me shorten this chart down just a little bit here for you. Sorry about that, everybody. So sorry, I'm always looking at a year chart because I have a big screen here, but I know it might be a little harder to see at home. So as I was saying, so this was the last day we were sitting here with everybody here live. So this was Tuesday. This is when we had our last TOD live. Helene and I were pointing out something that was very clear, that stocks, even though they had continued edging out, just barely edging out by a couple points in the S&P 500, kept edging out, just barely ticking these new all-time highs or intraday highs, whatever it may have been. But from essentially this point right here, from early July, you can see right here, stocks were kind of locked within this 6,250 to 6,300 range. You can see we probably set, again, 6 to 7 new all-time highs within that period of time. Of course, that's great, but there wasn't a lot of velocity and momentum to the upside. It was just barely grinding higher. So that was abundantly clear. It seems kind of, contradictory to say that, we're setting numerous new all-time highs, but we're also range bound. Those two things typically don't relate. But that's exactly what we were doing. So it was a little unique. We're starting to see some rotation in the markets take place during that time too. We're starting to see things like the equal weight outperform the headline index. But again, as we were saying, the headline S&P, main S&P index, you always look at when you log into CNBC or Bloomberg or wherever you check financial news. That index, that one was really kind of locked in a 50-point range, just barely grinding out new highs higher. Well, now in the last couple of days, something has clearly changed, Elaine. We noted this
Yeah.
yesterday. It's continuing today. I think largely on the back of that Google report last night. I really think that that's going to be a massive tailwind to a lot of the leaders that we've seen thus far in the market this year, mainly the large technology stocks. But you can see this is yesterday's bar. Here's today. We clearly have broken out of that 6,300 range. By the end of the day Tuesday, you can see we closed again, second time ever, second consecutive close above 6,300. The following day, of course, on Wednesday, blew right past that. We actually closed above 6,350 yesterday. And again, today, now we're trading again, hit a new all-time high intraday, and current price levels on pace to set a new all-time closing high yet again. So it's broken out of that range there, Helene. We love to see that, because what that means is that momentum behind stocks is starting to reaccelerate, it's starting to pick up again. And that's what we're seeing in the chart down here. This is, again, that rate of change chart that we looked at on Tuesday. All we need to see here, we're just looking for where this line is, whether it's sloping up or sloping down, and whether it's above or below the zero line here. So we can see we're clearly above our zero line. That means stock prices are increasing. That's bullish. Okay. And if we see the line sloping up like it started to do in the last couple of days, that means that momentum and that velocity to the upside is starting to pick up again. It was starting to kind of fizzle out, as we were saying, for the last 2.5 to 3 weeks. That's starting to reverse now. It's starting to trend back up, getting back, to more of the kind of the pattern like we saw in this stretch here. And you can see what followed after that. So, anything else you want to point in this chart here, Helene, before we move along?
No, I think you covered it all. I mean, as you said, on Tuesday, we were concerned with slowing momentum, and we were kind of at a point where we're like, okay, are we going to see a strong pullback from here or a catalyst higher? And as you said, we saw that catalyst higher, and so we're just in the midst of riding that right now.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, we got the great report today. Of course, there was some great trade news yesterday. Got those catalysts higher to reaccelerate that momentum behind stocks. So really, really good thing to see that. It's you need to have catalysts to propel stocks up that wall of worry, and that's what we've gotten this week. We've gotten good news on the trade front largely for the really key earnings reports we were looking at this week, namely Google. We've gotten some good results. Those are really indicative of where stocks are going to go for the market because of their weighting. But overall, the trend is still very firmly intact here. We can see a very clear buy trend on the trend lines.
Yes.
Of course, we're starting to trade above the upper Keltner channel again, but as we've learned on numerous occasions, just because stocks are showing that they're in overbought territory, they can run a little bit longer than you may expect. Just as evidenced by the recent couple trends we've seen here, they can stay up in that range for a good bit of time. So just being wise to that, being wise that the market has risen a bit. It's in short term a little bit short term frothy territory, but overall the trend still looks fantastic. Looks like a very strong, durable uptrend. We've seen these signs of broadening out, but all good things. So, Helene, do you think it's a good time to go ahead and hop into the trade ideas we have for today?
Definitely. Go ahead and jump into your pick first, Blaine.
All right, let me go ahead and pull mine up right here. So again, sorry for the year-long chart right here, but this is my trade for today is going to be for TSM. This is Taiwan Semiconductor, and so kind of bringing things full circle to circle back to how we opened today's call talking about Google. This is really, one of the things that is really made me look to this trade first this morning was that Google CapEx number. We've heard things, about Meta recently, about how much they're spending in the AI race. We've heard things about Google last night, them raising their full year CapEx, for what they're spending on AI by another $10 billion. There's so many signs in the market out there right now that clearly, the spend on AI, the capital expenditures going towards trying to win the AI race, there's been no signs of them slowing down as of now. Why that matters for Taiwan Semiconductor, if you're unfamiliar with the stock, They actually manufacture and fabricate uh, the vast majority of all semiconductors, particularly those, the ones you see from NVIDIA, ones from AMD. The Taiwan Semiconductor is, NVIDIA designs these chips. They make they make the prototypes, they make the designs, but the actual large scale manufacturing, it's taken care of by these guys right here, Taiwan Semiconductor. And so, of course, if you're still seeing these, major players in the AI race continuing to just spend and spend and spend, well, that money's going somewhere. Okay. So that's going to start, making its way to the NVIDIAs, to the AMDs, okay, to the, other semiconductor plays, but also, of course, it's going to find its way to Taiwan Semiconductor too. So that, is just a nice fundamental tailwind that's been abundantly clear over the last few months. For a stock like this, we got additional good news last night. And then just looking specifically at the chart right here, Helene, the trend is phenomenal for this. We have a great
Gorgeous.
technical buy signal going right here. The 21-day EMA, that's our red line right here. It's been trading above our green line right here, the 63-day, for quite some time. You can see the buy signal when that convergence happened right here, looking back to mid-May. You see a very clear definitive crossover. And ever since then, the distance between those has widened out and just continued to widen out. Stock has been making a very impressive series of higher highs and higher lows, coming out of those the April lows from earlier this year. And the stock actually broke out to new all-time highs. If you look to right here, it actually happened in late June and has continued throughout this month as well, setting several new all-time highs. This stock has fantastic relative performance or relative strength compared to just the broader market. So it's got all the hallmarks of a trade setup that I'd like to see. And, looking at the timing of the trade too, even though we've, been in this incredible bullish run, the stock has actually pulled back a little bit. It traded down to roughly the middle Keltner channel on Tuesday, started to rally back, closed near the highs of the day yesterday, and is trading, about 240 per share now. But at those price levels, it's trading below our upper Keltner channel. So that's signaling that in the short term, the stock is not signaling that it's trading in overbought territory. So it's trading right in the zone we'd look to be entering a trade. And that's also being reciprocated down below in our RSI chart. It's also signaling, excuse me, this stock is not currently overbought. You can see the RSI, it's below our line of 70 right here. So it's coming in actually just about 60. So that means the stock is not overbought. So it's got, all the signs I'd be looking for a great bullish trade setup. So once I found that one, also keeping in mind the stock has already reported earnings. It reported earnings last week. So kind of have, some of that uncertainty removed from the trade as well. I don't have to, worry about the company specific earnings, factoring in and, seeing some of the kind of silly season moves like we've seen this week on some stocks. But because of all that, I zeroed in on this expiration here. I looked at August 15th, and specifically
Okay.
for this setup, because of the powerful trend behind it, Helene, I wanted to go ahead and find a directional call option.
I like
And
it.
so the one I landed on is a little bit in the money. It's about a little over 10 points in the money based on current prices, but it's this 230 strike call right here. See, it's currently coming in about 14.2 points per trade. So it's still carrying a little bit of time value, but not an incredible amount. But if you plug it into the call option calculator here, you can see some really nice upside for this trade. You can see if the stock were to jump up 3.5% from here come option expiration, about near a 33% return. And then
Nice.
some of the bigger moves here, you can see. I mean, if the stock were to move up 7.5%, I mean, look at that. That's you're sitting on would be sitting on a near 101% gain,
Wow.
and then again a nice gain here if the stock were to move up say 10% from here. So checking out some of those bigger potential moves, you can see some really nice risk to reward potential for this trade. So nice reward profile for this one,
Yeah,
and
some
I
great
really like this
leverage
trade.
there.
What's that, Helene?
Great leverage there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. 100%, especially, on a stock like Taiwan Semiconductor. It looked like a fantastic setup, and I really like this one. So I was actually going to go ahead and just place this trade live here. This looked like just a killer setup that I was able to spot this morning. So I'm going to go
Yeah.
ahead and put my order in. Of course, I'm going to be looking to buy to open the August 15th. Again, that 230 strike call. Going to put it in. It looks like it just dropped down about another 5 cents. So I'll go ahead and update my limit order to 14.15 and go ahead and fire that one off. We'll see if we get filled there. Got filled right
Nice.
at it. Perfect. Awesome. So there we go.
Yeah, that's a
So that
great pick, Blaine. I mean, I think that I haven't seen a better chart than that recently. The TSM is on a killer trend. I mean, the momentum is clear there. And as you said, it's a great time for an entry without pullback. So I think that was an awesome pick.
Yeah, thanks so much, Helene. Yeah, I thought I was personally really excited when I saw that setup this morning. So definitely keep track of that one. I know my pick from Tuesday has been trading pretty well too. The Casey's call spread that I found. So
Okay.
hopefully this one works out just as well.
I like it. I like it. Well, I'm going to jump into my pick. Mine is Rigetti Computing. It's a quantum computing company that builds and operates superconducting quantum processors. It also offers
Interesting.
cloud-based quantum computing services. And so let me go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. I'm excited to see this one. Mine, this is obviously, big. The one I was doing is a big, infrastructure player in the AI build out. But this is a more, kind of a newer, more exciting stock, a little speculative. But man, it's
Yeah,
been,
it's a little more speculative, but I will say we have seen a surge in retail investors this year since the April 2020 lows. And it's hard to ignore where they're putting their money. I mean, and where their interest is. Interest right now, it's in quantum, it's in AI, and they are moving stocks because of their huge inflows. So, Rigetti Computing, they're one of the top names in the quantum uh, industry, and the whole quantum industry is really getting a lot of attention right now because they're making a lot of jumps within quantum computing. And so because of that, we're seeing this interest in these quantum stocks. So Rigetti is one of those top names. As I said, they had a cooling off period in June where they were kind of sideways, kind of consolidating. And then we saw early July, they started to gain momentum again and they started to trade higher. And just recently, about a week ago, they hit these newer short-term highs and started making what we can see as a series of higher highs and higher lows since mid-June. Now, this is a really bullish sign for the stock. Additionally, I just want to say that they are trading above some important moving averages, both the 35-day EMA as well as the 200-day moving average. That confirms the bull trend and the buy signal on this stock. And then always looking at the calendar channels, it's currently trading below that upper calendar channel. It pulled back from those highs and started bouncing. And so that's a really bullish sign as we see it bouncing once again after returning into the calendar channels. And then I added on one additional indicator, MACD. As you can see, it's currently on an MACD buy signal, once again confirming that bullish pressure, that bull trend. So I would look to buy a call option for Rigetti. I'd go ahead and I'm going to pick my option live and I'll place it with you guys. I'm going to go about a month out, which is going to put us at August 22nd. And then I would like to be around that 12 strike. Now, this doesn't meet our 1% rule, but it is a highly speculative stock. It has a lot of extra time value. I wouldn't expect it to. So I'm going to go with the 12 strike call. And I'll go ahead and place this with you guys right now. It's at 425. So I'm going to go ahead and place it. And
And yeah, Helene, on a stock that's at near $16, going with the 12 strike call. I mean, that is incredibly conservative. I mean, that's even though it doesn't meet the 1% rule, the traditional strike selection criteria Chuck often likes to use. I mean, that's that's so deep in the money for a
yes,
$16 stock. I mean, it's almost 4 points in the money. And again, it's keeping really mindful on costs there. It's only coming in about $400. That looks like a
yeah,
great trade.
a nice low cost pick. And, we like to trade in the money call option purchases. It's a more conservative way to trade call options because, your stock only has to move. In this case, it was like, I think it was like 1.75% in order for me to break even on the option at expiration. So that smaller move that's required to make money, it is great for increasing your likelihood of winning on a trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Helene, fantastic trade setup there. Like you said, that's a little bit more of a kind of mad money trade if you want to use those
Yes.
terms, but very exciting one. I mean, the trend looks great. Clearly seeing that momentum breakout according to the MACD chart right there, and it was a great call option find. So way to
Appreciate
go
it.
on that one.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Helene, I know we wanted to mention something that we're doing tomorrow. It's really exciting. Chuck and I, we've had this on the books for a while, been really looking forward to it. But tomorrow, folks, we'd love to have you all join us. We're having a live call. It's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, and Chuck and I are going to be sitting down talking about it's kind of a newer trading strategy that we've developed here recently. And, we've been testing this for well over a year. It's been in action, actually, putting out alerts to, some of our early beta tester members, and, putting out alerts for quite some time now too. But the strategy, the whole idea behind it is targeting trades that you place just before the weekend, hold them over the weekend while the markets are closed. So nobody could trade even if they wanted to, right? The markets are closed, and then come Monday, looking to exit those trades, taking advantage of some of the dynamics of the weekend. Some of the market mechanics that can, increase your odds of having a profitable trade come Monday morning once the markets open up. And Helene, we did the historical testing. The average winner for this strategy over the weekend was coming in at over $1,600, which kind of just blew me away when I first saw that. But even more impressively, is as great as that is for the average winner throughout the historical testing, we also were hitting winners at over an 85% win rate. So, I mean,
And
you
I
just do
also
the
just
math on that. I mean,
I
that's
also want to just say that, since March, the actual trades sent to members, the actual trades
yeah.
have an 89% win rate.
Right. Yeah. So
I
that's not
mean,
just the historical back test.
it's
Those are the
killer.
actual alerts, real time, sent out to members.
Sent to
If
those
you're one of
beta
those early
members.
beta testers, I mean, that's a near nine, that's almost 9 out of 10 of the trades ended up producing a profit. So, I mean, that having those profitable opportunities and almost 90% of the alerts, I mean, that's just a crazy high accuracy rate for a strategy. And, again, like you were saying, some of the newer recommendations, I mean, again, it worked. The historical testing was about as impressive as it can get.
Yeah.
But, with some of the real, trade alerts that were sent out to members, found in real time. I mean, I know with some of our recent trades, they were, just over the weekend, they were producing. I know we had one that was a 79% winner recently, had a
Hmm.
59% winner again
Yep.
recently too. So, I mean, they've been working very, very well recently, even, in kind of a, more, shaky market. People get a little nervous near all-time highs. And even though the VIX is low, we've seen some big moves in stocks. So despite all that, strategy's been working really, really well.
Oh yeah.
Targeting these, and we're actually including with it something we're calling the 4K weekend challenge. So would love to have you all join us for that. I'm actually going to go ahead and post in the chat right now. So if you haven't heard anything about this is your first time hearing about it. We're offering you a chance to get registered to attend the event tomorrow. It's absolutely free to attend, just like today's TOD live call. There's no cost to attend, but I will tell you this: there are a limited number of spots available. It's not unlimited spots to attend that call. So would love to have you go ahead and claim your seat now before they're all taken. Would love to have you in the room live with us while we're breaking down exactly what this 4K income challenge is over the weekend, and then talking about what the strategy is behind it. And in fact, tomorrow's Friday. That's leading in right into the weekend.
Yep.
I guarantee you they're going to be putting out a handful of new trade recommendations for this exact strategy. Going after that 4K weekend starting tomorrow. So if you want to learn all about it, would love to see you there. Highly encourage you to check out that link I just posted in the chat. Go ahead, sign up. Again, it's a free call to join, no cost to you. So hey, what's the risk, right? Come hear about it, see what you think.
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's also like has become my favorite strategy. It's just a killer strategy. It's hard to not love an 89% win rate. I mean, it's wonderful. So, um, let's see.
I see Carlos saying your account is growing. I appreciate the kind words, Carlos. Thank you so much. We would
That's
love to hear that.
wonderful.
And I would love to see you join us in for the call tomorrow in the 4K weekend challenge.
Yeah.
Would love to see you join us. Love to see the great comments there and results. So also, hey, thanks for being here today. It means a lot to us for all of you taking some time out of your day. I know there's never a convenient time, right? It's always busy. There's always so much going on. Heck, Helene and I, we know that. We have two little ones running around, keeping us on our toes all the time. So we definitely can relate. But thank you so much to everybody for being here live with us. Hope you truly are enjoying these TOD live calls. I know we are. Hope you're enjoying them as much as we do. And Helene, I think the plan is we'll be back here on Tuesday, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if you join us for the 4K weekend challenge, then you'll see us tomorrow morning.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, we'll be live tomorrow for the 4K weekend challenge. Again, that's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern. Of course, that'll be 10 p.m. Pacific. I'm not sure where everybody's watching in from today, but again, we'd love to have you all there. And until then, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. But if not, if you'll be back here on TOD Live next week, hope everybody has a fantastic weekend, and hope to see you all join in on the 4K weekend challenge with all of us. So take care,
Uh,
everybody. See you back here soon.
See you guys. Thank you.